What is up, guys? Forrest here, and I think now more than ever is an appropriate time for me to talk about programmer burnout, which has a lot to do with why iOS development has kind of been missing from this channel. Wait a second, before we get started, as I was editing this video, I kind of realized that I forgot something. I forgot to integrate that Tomas is the one who kind of brought this to my attention. I've been experiencing programmer burnout as well, and you'll see why, and I'll explain everything and tell you stories in this video. But Tomas Santiago Mamede, not sure if I pronounced your last name correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. Kind of shared his experience via a comment on one of my previous videos about his own programmer burnout, how he's spreading himself too thin, and that really encouraged me to make this video because I've been going through the same thing recently, and I want to let everybody know that it's not uncommon, you're not alone when it comes to programmer burnout. If you're feeling unmotivated, there's probably a reason, not because you're not cut out to be a it just happens. It's simple as that. It just happens to 99% of us. And I'm going to put Tomas's comment up on the screen now. So pause it if you want to read through that whole entire comment. I basically told you the summary of it, how it's his programmer burnout story, and I'm going to take it off the screen. And now we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled program. Enjoy. So programmer burnout, it's really appropriate for me to talk about it right now because these past 6 months, essentially the past 2 semesters have been hectic, but the past 2 or 3 months have been especially hectic. This semester in school, I'm currently working on 4 hours of sleep is not enough sleep for anybody, which is why I need my coffee. So as I was saying, this semester I've been building 2 Android applications, one of which being an augmented reality application integrating TensorFlow, machine learning, things of that nature. I'll discuss more about it with you guys in the future, but for right now, I'm in a group of 9 total people. Maybe there's 7 or 8 now. A few people didn't make it all the way through the semester, but a big group developing this Android application. So that's one thing going on. Second Android application is a social media style application where I actually discussed it in a previous video. It's called Pizza Topper. Well, I think I've told you about how we had 4 people in that group and then it got narrowed down to 2 people because nobody in the group was doing anything except for me. Well, guess what? In that group of 2, nobody was doing any of the work except for me, and I was really stressed out approaching the midterm demo. That's kind of what we had to do. We had to demo our midway application basically, and I had to stay up for 2 consecutive nights, maybe getting a 3-hour nap somewhere in there and building the rest of this application, whereas I thought my partner was going to kind of participate in that. That's kind of how we divided the skills, but I wasn't hearing any communication, so I kind of expected that I was going to do all of it, and it was just a horrible time. I actually asked my professor with the partner in the room to go solo. So now what started off as a 4-person group ended up as a 1-person group. And that social media style app, Pizza Topper, is part of my mobile app development course where we're learning Android development. And I'm also working on another assignment, which is the 3rd assignment, where we essentially are creating a smaller application to kind of learn some of the basics within Android development. Essentially, the assignments are to focus on one thing or another, or maybe a few things at once, and integrate it into a little application. Doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to get done. And don't even get me started on CS417, which is computational methods and software, where essentially I'm writing numerical algorithms and integrating those into Java or C++ applications. Well, not integrating, I'm creating the applications surrounded, based on these numerical algorithms. It's basically where linear algebra meets programming. Fun, right? Oh yeah, and I also have a theoretical computer science course where I'm not even going to get into that. Just know that if you're interested in pursuing a computer science degree, math plays a huge role, not just in the math classes. I'll talk more about that in another video. I actually want to make a video about kind of conquering math as a computer science student, but we'll get to that probably in the next week or 2. So subscribe if you're interested in anything like that. And then that's only what's going on in school. I'm also trying to, do YouTube and do a few other things, like I'm setting up my Twitch account. I've been, getting my profile picture together, getting the panels together, getting my station over here set up properly. I already got all my Wi-Fi and whatnot, or internet set up, and then I have, look, a cool little mic stand back there, and I have a webcam up there. It's not facing out because I haven't been using it yet, so I don't really want it facing at me, because hackers. But over on twitch.tv/FarceNight, I'll link it down in the description below if you're interested. I'm doing Q&A videos while I play Fortnite. So a lot of people have asked me for Q&A videos. That's going to be the platform. I also like to diversify, not just hold everything on YouTube, but also kind of grow a following over on Twitch as well. So give me a follow over there. I really appreciate it. And I'm not only mentioning this to plug my Twitch channel, although I am plugging my Twitch channel. I'm mentioning this because all this has to do with programmer burnout. It's just my specific case. With all of these programs and applications that I'm building in school, along with, like I said, everything else that I have going on in my life, everyone has stuff going on in their life, but that has really just burnt me out from programming. I haven't really been able to work on my own iOS application except for a few days out of the month. So yes, it has been getting done, a little bit along the way, but it's not as much as I'd like to. That's because all of my programming time is allotted to Android development or just anything with school. Any school programming, that's where my programming time is allotted. I still want to have time to myself, and I still want to have time for y'all in order to make these YouTube videos. And I've also been looking a bit more into programmer burnout per se, and a lot of people have been saying like 4 to 5 years is kind of the time where, let's say in someone's career, they kind of get burnt out with doing the same job over and over and over again. Maybe you're working on different features, but that's kind of like where programmer burnout sets in. And although I haven't been in the workforce for 4 to 5 years, I have been programming for 4 to 5 years. That's when I started. And with all of this going on and me, not being able to focus on one emphasis, iOS development, for example, and I have to focus on Android development, standalone Java development, C++ development, Python development, Python with artificial intelligence and machine learning development, and then learning all of the frameworks and technologies around that. It's so it just burns you out. What this does, and I'll refer back to Tomas's comment from earlier in the video, it spreads you so thin that it just burns you out. It makes you not enjoy programming as much as you did. When you're getting into programming, you have all of these hopes and dreams, and you think about, if I one day create this application and this application, or maybe one day I'll go work at SpaceX, or work for Elon Musk over at Tesla or Solar City, or wherever you really want to work, whether that's NASA or Facebook or Google, and then it just kind of diminishes and diminishes and diminishes. And for me, I think that's really like computer science, my school at this point in my career, in my school career that is, it's really just burnt me out, and I'm completely over it. It's just spread me too thin. I mean, I understand that school is where you learn how to learn, and you need to essentially build a foundation, because if you learn this, and that, you really learn how to learn a new language. So you start off with Java, or you start off with C++, and then you're able to learn Java, and then you're able to learn Swift, you're able to learn Python, and that's kind of like the idea behind school. I mean, computer science isn't just programming, it's actually more so computer theory than programming, but you use programming to implement that computer theory, if that makes sense. If you're not in computer science program, I don't know if it does. But school is spreading me too thin. You may be spreading yourself too thin. You may be interested in web development, and then when it's time to, get over that hump, once it gets like really to the difficult part and you're ready to get over that hump, but you don't see that you're about to hop over that hump, you switch over to iOS development, or you switch over to Java programming or artificial intelligence programming, and then that keeps happening. You learn the basics of that language, of that framework, of that technology, and then once you're about to essentially break through, as they say, you switch, and you don't really find yourself being an expert, or at least being able to complete a full program that you want to create on your own in a timely manner. You're sitting there with the basics of web development, you're sitting there with the basics of iOS development, you're sitting there with the basics of Python development, but you're not excelling. That's what we call a jack of all trades. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will see in my description on Instagram, jack of all trades, master of none. That's true right now, unfortunately. I'm not proud of it. I just thought it was kind of funny, so I included it in my little bio up there on Instagram. But that's like kind of what I'm going through right now. It's just, everything is just spread too thin. I'm building so many different skills up to like this level, when in reality I should be focusing on 1, maybe 2 skills and building them up to this level, so I can be a professional and expert at that. In all honesty, I've been looking into jobs as I'm, closing out on my computer science degree, more so on the data analyst work, systems analyst work, or work that has minimal coding. And you want to know why? Because I don't want to have programmer burnout. I want to be able to come home, and if I want to work on my iOS application, I can and I will, because I haven't been programming at work all day. I'll be working all day, but I won't be writing code. I won't be trying to debug or figure out what's going on with my program. I will be doing all of that data analyst, systems analyst type work, so I have more motivation to work on my own projects. Because after all, most of you know that I plan to work for myself. I actually kind of have this goal in mind where 1 year, I don't know if I should say this in case any potential employer is watching me, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would love to be able, I hope that after 1 year working at whatever job I get after school, I have the option to leave that job and come work for myself full time, whether that be building iOS applications for myself and YouTube and Twitch and all these other ventures that I'm trying to dive into. And I'm only going to be able to make that possible if I don't burn out, if I'm able to come home and work on my own projects, my own iOS applications in order to build those applications into a business, my own Android applications if I want to go that route as well, or maybe even, if I'm able to build up this YouTube channel, my Twitch channel, and whatever else I choose to dive into, and essentially generate enough revenue whereas I can be working for myself. I may even reach out to you guys and hire some of you guys to build apps for me. I may be too busy with YouTube and Twitch and maybe doing a little bit of iOS development, or maybe I want to be a project manager in order to run the iOS application that I've built, and then I can bring on an Android developer because maybe that may not be my favorite thing to do. Or I can bring on someone who does web development or web application development and things of that nature. So this is what's going on in my mind right now. And I'm really getting scared from this whole programmer burnout thing, and I don't want that to happen to me. So I'm doing my best to avoid that situation, which is why I'm so excited that I'll be graduating in May. I actually do have a few other classes that I'll be taking this summer and later in the fall, but it's only like 1 or 2 classes, so it's not that big of a deal. Or at least I'm hoping that it's not that big of a deal. I just want you guys to know that I don't care if you're 1 year into it, or if you're 5 years into it, or 20 years into it. Programmer burnout is real. You just have to, I don't know. I'm going to share my experience with you guys. Hopefully all this works out well. But in my mind and what I've read and kind of my understanding of why I'm being burnt out, trying to reverse engineer why I'm being burnt out. My conclusion being, step back, figure out what you really want to focus on, and focus on that. And I've actually had this mindset for the past 9 months or so when I really started to kind of feel this way. And I just haven't been able to do that because of school. School is kind of what's spreading me thin. So once I'm able to get out, I'll do my best to be able to work on my own software applications myself. And although I hope nobody's thinking this, I'm sure there's somebody out there that is thinking, why don't you just stop playing video games and focus on iOS development, or stop doing this or stop doing that and focus on your own iOS application? That's because of this burnout. Because I'm working on this Android application, that Android application, these smaller Android applications, my numerical algorithm applications, and all of this other stuff going on, that I need a little bit of time to myself. I need a little bit of time to do fun activities. I have fun hanging out with my fiance. I'm gonna say my wife. It'll be in about 34 days, I believe. So I have fun hanging out with my fiance. I have fun hanging out with my friends, but I also need a little bit of time to myself. So I need to be able to sit back and play a little bit of video games. And that's just kind of how do I want to say this, decompress. That's how I decompress. That's how I just can't replace that with iOS application development. 2 years ago, I could. 1 year ago, I could. And I'm not trying to make any excuses. It's just that that's how I'm feeling right now. And if I did any more programming, I would probably lose my mind. So just know that you're not alone. If you're feeling burnout, just take a step back, reverse engineer why you feel that you're burning out. Are you spreading yourself too thin? Most likely that's the case. Otherwise, maybe you just need to take a break from programming for a couple months and then come back into it, and you'll be reinvigorated and you'll be ready to roll on whatever application you're working on. Or maybe it will be a better idea to work on a new application because maybe you've lost interest in that old application. So that's just my 2 cents on programmer burnout. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Till next time, have a good one. Peace.